Hello. Hey, hi everyone.
Hi, Amit.
Hi,
I'm sorry, no, actually I got a little late.
Hi, Amit.
Hi. So I think everybody just give me 2 minutes, right? I'm just starting it up this launch. Were you all able to download that Avona installer?
yeah, I have done with that.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So how are you? I mean, no, like we have done a lot of stuff up till now, like different tools and technology. So what do you all think, right? What all things are you able to follow it up, and what do you think will you be actually doing in your day-to-day job activities? Do you get some hang of that? Because technically, if you would have seen, mostly the things are interrelated to each other. Deepa, like, what's the agenda for Python? So for Python, we will be learning the basic functionalities, the basic programming language, and we will be learning data manipulation and the data visualization using Python. So those are the things that we will be covering up.
Okay.
Just I'll just share my screen. Okay, so anyone who knows Python over here has done some explore this Python.
Yeah, I have an understanding of Python.
Okay, so what have you used it for?
No, based on my interest, I joined a training to learn Pythons to look how it is. That's it. Not specifically.
Okay.
And I have created some local using Django framework. I did some thing on my local host for my kid, like restaurant kind of. Since I was interested in learning Django, I learned Python and Django.
Django is a basically web framework, so you can
Yeah.
do that. So you did some web development inside.
Yeah. Not deployed on the server side because I don't have much idea on that. On the local host, I tried creating some web applications for my kids' restaurant likewise.
Now you know what happened is basically when you talk about Python, so there is one programming language that you all have already learned, that was R. Now R is a language which is used just for the data science. You don't have any other application which you can use R for, right? Basically, if you have to do any data visualization, data manipulation, you have to do some predictive modeling, you have to create some the uh, dashboards and all. So definitely you can use R only that for only that purpose. But when it comes to Python, basically Python has its multiple applications. You can use it for web development, right? You can use Python for app development. You can use for we can use Python for the deployment, and we can definitely use Python for data science now. So all in all, like Python comes with lots of different use cases for which it can be used for. And that is why Python has actually gained its popularity into the market, because every firm that you talk about today, right, they are working into multiple areas, right? I mean, they have that multiple things that are running on into the company. So for that matter, right, so it's always a good idea to have one programming language which can be used across, rather than having multiple programming languages for different use cases. Now that is one reason like Python became I will say very popular among the companies, and today you will see it is being it's in high demand when it comes to especially the data science over here now. Okay, so there was this guy, right? His name was Van Dan, something like this, right? So this was the name. So this was the guy who invented this Python around in late 1970s, right? So late 1970s, this programming language was this created, right? That is the Python. The idea of Python was basically mostly, right, most of the programming languages that we had till that point in time, right, all the programming languages that we had, they were more like all the programming languages, they were more computer friendly and less user friendly, right? Whereas this was one of the languages which was more user friendly, and it was heavy on systems. So when I say heavy on system, it doesn't mean that it will take it takes a lot of time. No. So it means that a person has to write only a limited amount of a code, and rest of the things were then taken care of by the system. But in case of the other languages, they were more like you have to write big pieces of codes, so that there is minimum processing that the systems have to do. So that is how because now this was very much user friendly, and people were like, no, now we have to write a very less code. So this language became an instant hit, right? So these are the things that made this was the thing that made this Python language very popular. Also on top of that, it does not follow any concept of any concept of this brackets and all. You will not find much of the brackets, semicolons, commas, etc. being used. It's a very straightforward language which makes use of only the indentation. As a result of which, you will find that most of the codes that you write in Python, they look very neat and clean, right? Even without having a lot of the clutteredness in it. So these looks very neat and clean, and also it becomes easy for a person also, because when you write other piece of coding, you have to make sure that if you have opened the brackets, have you close them, the commas and all, everything has to be taken care of. So those things become little easy when we work with this now. Now, especially now, because in this training we will definitely be talking on Python from the development perspective. I mean, from the data science perspective. So not from the other perspective. So from that point of view, also, right, you will now see, like remember in R we have the concept of packages. Right? So we used to download package, right, like ggplot, dplyr, se, right? So whatever package, read Excel, whatever package, I mean, whatever feature you would like to use, for that, there were a lot of packages that were available, correct? So we used to download the package, put that into the library, and then we were able to do our task. Same is the concept we have in the Python as well, right? So we call it as more like libraries in it. Idea is same, just that it is the name is different. So in Python we call the same thing as library now. So we can install certain libraries and we can get the job done, right? So we will see what they are, how do we use them, and how do we import and install them. Okay. So the first thing is, right, if you have to now write the Python codes. Now Python codes can be written for by writing the Python code. There are a lot of IDEs that are available. What is an IDE?
An integrated development environment.
Okay. So why do we use it, and any example?
Is it like for the developers to write their code? The development area where I can write my code.
So basically, this is more like an interface,
yeah,
connected to the base coding, to the foundation software, right? This is something like that, which provides a better user interface, right? So like, for example, in R, we were using RStudio, right? So RStudio was basically one of the IDEs, which was a layer on top of the R programming language, where you could write your R codes easily and manage them easily. So similarly, in Python, we have multiple IDEs that are available. So you can write your Python codes in, this. So your Jupyter Labs, Jupyter Notebooks, right? You have Spider, you have PyCharm. There are a lot of places where this Python codes can be written very fluently. So if you come now over here, the Anaconda that you have all installed, right? Anaconda is a one-place solution for all the navigation, for all the IDEs. If you come over here, and you can write a Python code in CMD command prompt also, which is definitely not a very good place to write the code, which I feel, right? So basically, you will find all the IDEs present over here, which we can use. And in this, you also find RStudio as well, which you can use for your R coding, right? So you can actually install, you can basically you can launch the RStudio from here as well, and all the other the IDEs you are going to find over here, which we will be using. So we will be using the Jupyter notebooks, right, which is again very widely used. Is the IDE for your the the Python programming, and it's a web-based interactive computing notebook. Basically, it's just like a, you will find it very much similar to RStudio only. I mean, the interface is just that it's a web-based. It opens up in your web browser. That's it, right? So let us try this up. So all of you please launch the Jupyter notebook. So this is how it opens up, right? So you can see this, the Jupyter has been now opened up over here.
Amit, you said it's one of the IDE, right? Like web-based. Can't I download this separately and make this icon in desktop or no?
You can do that. You can download it because this ID, this is a navigator. So if you will come over here, you have this one, this somewhere in the download. From there you will find it up. So you can download it separately also. And if you want, so generally we use this navigator because it gives you all those like one-stop shop. So you can find each
Okay.
and everything over there. So you can now launch it from here.
But every time I need to launch via this navigator, Anaconda navigator.
Yes.
Okay.
You just launch it and you can then close this up. So once this is launched, then the job is done.
Okay. Even from here, I can able to save my notebooks, right, in my folder.
Sorry?
No, from this, you said it's just open and close via this navigator. Here, I can able to save my notebooks in my folder.
The files will be saved at your location.
Okay, then there is no need to download that separately. Then.
Because anything that you
Okay.
will do, so these files will be saved at the root path over here. So that is how you will be able to save them.
Okay. Because I don't have any idea about this Jupyter. That's why.
No, I'll tell you that.
Okay.
So
But I think in Anaconda folder, you'll find Jupyter Notebook. I downloaded it's there actually in the start menu.
You said?
sorry.
In Anaconda folder, in the start menu, there is Jupyter Notebook also.
From here now.
Yeah.
If you come over here, this is Anaconda base. So this
Yeah.
is where you can have it. This is the same thing because when you launch this up Anaconda Navigator, so it launches all the things for you. So it's
Yeah.
a complete set of the things that get installed. So
Yeah.
your Anaconda, Spider, Python, everything is installed with this.
Where can I find this in Mac? Because in the launcher, I'll just double click this navigator and go to Jupyter. I couldn't find how to find this in Mac.
I mean, how do you see the list of all the programs that you have? The way you see those program lists, so there you will find this folder of Anaconda over there. So now, once this opens up, right, you will notice from here what you can do is you just have to come over here and you have to click on new Python 3. Only click on this new Python 3, this is where the Jupyter Notebook will open up. Okay. So this is how the interface of this Jupyter Notebook is going to look like, which we are going to use. So if I just use it like a normal, the calculator right now, if I say 8 plus 9, right, you click on run, the code runs, and it gives you the output over here. Right, so it's like a line by line structure where you just write your code and below in the next line you will see the output. And the shortcut for running a code is, suppose I say 8 9 into 8 alt enter. You can press alt enter and it will give you the multiplication. Okay, you want to write something in the quotes, you can do that, right? So you say welcome. So you can do that over here. And likewise, if you remember, right, like in R, we used to have a concept of variables. The same is the thing over here as well, right? So if you have to save something in the form of variables, so you can create the variables and you can say a equals to 20. So a variable a is created, which now, it has a value 20 in it and you can use it anywhere you want. I hope you all are able to access it. Anyone having any issues with this?
No, how can I save this in my folder, this file?
So this will not be saved automatically over there. You have to open this up from that folder. So when you open it from here, you will see the list of folders. So basically, if you now open any of the folders over here, if you open downloads and you launch the file from this folder, so it will get saved in that folder automatically. So we don't have any option like file save as and on.
No,
So what
can't
you
I
do,
create my folder here? No.
so this is the path of your system only. So you create your folder and then you have to access to this folder right now. So so for that, we have to write a command as well to change the path where you want to save it. So right now, we'll just have to focus on basically if you will come over here, by default, it saves your file in this PWD, right? If you write over here, PWD, so run this. So this is the path where from where this has been launched, right? Like for example, if you come over here and I open a folder over here in this downloads and let's open this Python exercises, right? And I open a new Python now. It's new, right? So you see this path has changed now. So from wherever we launch this, that is where the file gets saved. So you can see this save. So automatically it gets saved over there.
Okay.
Now, like like multiplication, division, addition, all those things everywhere, which way you can easily do that. If you want to write comments, so the same way like we used to write it in the R, you can write the comments over here as well, right? Suppose you want to find the power. So you want to find the power, that is 2 raised to the power 3. So you will say 2 raised to the power 3 like this, which will be 8. You want to find the modulo, right? Modulo is the remainder, right? So we use percentage sign for that. If I say 9 modulo 4, so remainder will be 1. And you can write multiple codes also, right? Like for example, if you write this and then you write 8 plus 7, and if you run it, so both the line. So you see basically this, if you write both of them, so this technically the output will come for this only. So you can use print command in order to do that. So if I write print over here, if you want to see both the outputs, so we have print. Right. Okay. Now, when you create the variables, right? So like I was telling you, you can define the variables to store your data in, right? Suppose you declare a variable a equals to 100, and then you say a divided by 10, that gives you 10 over here. Now, what happens is these variables that we define over here, so there are some rules that we follow for that, and these rules are very much similar like we had in the R, right? Rules for defining variables. So the rules are basically the first, if I come over here, is it is basically the names cannot start with number, right? That is one. And then you have, there can be no spaces in the names, and you can't use special symbols. Right? Special symbols, when I say like something like, this greater than, less than, forward slash, comma, semicolon, etc. But yes, you can use underscore if you want, right? You can use underscore if in require you want to separate the two characters. Okay. And it's also best practice that the names of variables should be in lowercase. So this is something that we should always try to follow, and avoid using the the reserved words. I would say the reserved words. So like something, the words which have some special meaning, right? Which you will be learning as in like list, right? Dictionary, str, and all. And like, there's this language that you're writing, this line that you written over here. In this, like this is, there is also something that you can define, that right now this is that the cell is defined as code. You can convert it into a markdown. So when you convert something into a markdown, it's like just like this over here, it comes like a, the text data. You see all that is coming in the form of a text, right? Markdown is like that, the HTML language. Or if you want to keep it as a code only, so in that case, probably you have to use those. I mean, you can just don't execute it, just go to the next step. Because if you will execute it, it will give you an error because it's a code and it's not in the form of code right now. Right? Now what we're going to do over here is we're going to start off with, now we will understand how do we write the strings. So if you want to use strings over here, so creating a string, right, is simple, right? Anything that you write in a double quotes, that is treated as a string now. Okay. And if you write big sentences, right? Suppose you write something like, this is the first session on Python, So this is also a string, right? So string can be a single word or an entire phrase. And if you want to save this thing in a variable, suppose I create a variable str and I save this thing in this variable over here. So you will observe that this variable is created, and I should not give it an str. We should give it as variable one. Now, if I will check the type, right, there is a function that we can use type, that is of var1. So it tells you that this is string type, right? So for wrapping this up in the double, I mean for creating a string, it's optional. You can use double quotes and single quotes both. Yep. Are you able to do it? Okay. So now when you are using some quotes over here, right? Say for example, you have to write a small syntax over here, right? So like you want to write something. Today great day, right? So if you have to write something like this which already contains a quote, so in that case you just use the other way around quote, right? For example, if you have a single quote coming as a part of a text, you should wrap it in the double quotes now, right? So with that double quotes now, what Python will do, that Python will see that okay, if I'm starting with double quote, I have to end with double quote. If you start with single quote, it will look to end with a single quote. So that is how you can play if you have to basically like wherein you have to see that the quotes are coming in your text that you're trying to write. Okay. And definitely for this character type of data, you can always use the command print. So whatever you say, so you can use print. Suppose I say print var1. So it prints that this is the first session on Python. Okay. And you can always use this command /n for the next line. Right? So in the print command. So like for example, if you come over here, you say print today is Wednesday, and you write \n thanks, just something like this. You see it says today is Wednesday, thanks. /n means next line. You want to check the length of a string, so you're going to use a function that is length. len, and you can say var1. So it will give you the length, right? How many characters does it have?
Amit, is the length starts from 0 or 1? First
Length
character.
starts from 0.
0. Okay.
So like in R, it starts from 1. In this, it starts from 0. I think this is what we will talk about now, string indexing. So basically, right, like what happened is when you define this up, so this variable that you have defined, right, var1. So right, like we had indexing in R. So similarly, we have indexing in Python also. The indexing in Python starts from 0, not from 1, right? So basically, if you say var1 and you say you want to pull the data which is at 0, the index position is 0. So it will give you I, right? So this is what we had the string. This is the first session. So the 0 position is T. If you write var1 1 over here, it gives H.
In order to make two lines right, I want to print both the indexes. Like I want to print the string first and the 0th index and T. Should I just give enter and write the code as such?
No, I didn't get it. Can you come again?
No, I want to print the string first. I want to print the 0th value and the first index value. Should I enter in all in the same line, or how it should be?
Same line, I'm not getting it. Like, what do you want
So
to
first,
do?
I want to print what is the string first.
So you write var1 for that. That is a string. So you have
Okay.
to say print. You can
Okay.
use print also. You can use simple var1.
Okay.
Where it will print that. So if you want to print now var1, so whatever is the index position 0, so we do that. So you get this up.
Okay. If I want to print var1 of index 1 also in that same line, will it give, or it will give only the first?
You just write it
Output.
over here var1, and
Okay.
you write 1 over here. Okay. So basically, you'll have to again and again use print in that.
Okay. Okay.
So what
Yeah,
happens is
okay.
print will throw the output, and
Yeah.
otherwise this is just an execution of that.
Okay.
If you want to extract the number of data points, right? So basically you want to grab everything, right? Like right now we're just pulling one value at a time. So you want to pull multiple values, so you can use var1, and you can write, suppose I say from 0, right? Suppose let's say from the first position you have to pull. You say 1 semicolon and leave it blank. When you leave it blank, that means starting from 1, everything has to be extracted. So it starts pulling from H up to the last. So this is more like, like we can call it as slicing. Slicing. You want a slice of that string. Likewise, if you say something like this now, right? So you say var 1, and if you say 1 to 5, that means you want to start from the index position 1 and go up till 5. So it will not go up till 5, it will go up till 4 only, right? 1 is this, 2, 3, 4. Right, 1, 2, 3 up till this space. So it takes one less than the last one that you get, right? One less than the last value. So when you're writing 1 is to 5, that means it will start from 1. It will go up till 5 minus 1, that is 4. So it doesn't include the last index in that case. Okay. Now, similarly, if you come over here, right? If you come in this, if you write var1 and you write something like this, just a colon, that means each and everything.
It's like same of printing that variable, right?
Sorry?
No, this without just giving that colon, right?
Variable.
That variable.
Correct,
Okay.
correct, the variable. If suppose you want to print the last letter, right? If you want to print the last letter, so in that case, what you can do is you say var1, and if I say -1, right? So it will print the last letter, right? Similarly, if you come over here var1 and you say -2, right? So it prints the second last letter. So it starts from the backward direction. Okay. And if you want to print this in the reverse direction, right? So you can say var1, right? And if you write something like this over here, and then what you can do over here is this, if you want to print that string in the reverse direction. So you can use two semicolon, right? If you say 1, right? Like for example, if you say 1, that means it's the same like printing the entire string. If you say var1 and you put two double quotes and you say now 2, right? So it will skip one of that, it is like after every 2 index position the output is getting printed, correct? If you say var1, that is starting all the data and a step size of -1, that means opposite direction, the reverse string.
No, can you explain it once, that : 2? I'm not getting it.
This is basically like, for example, it's like step size, right? If I say var1, I want to pull the data starting from 0 index up
Yeah.
till 10th index, correct? So
Yeah.
0 to 10.
10 minus 1.
Now I'm saying, so by default, it prints each and every position. But if you say, that means it's like default is 1. So it's like
Yeah.
default, this is
Yeah.
there. Right? Now, if I write the same thing like this over here, 0 to 11. Now, if I write 2 over here,
Okay.
so it will be jumping one value by each. Right? T, I, space, S, T, E. That is how it is jumping.
Okay.
And same way, if you write the same thing, so when you see, because as I told you, right, this means all the data, correct? So that is what I've done
Yeah.
in this case also, all the data, and for that position, I'm giving it as -1. So -1 means reverse.
Reverse order. Okay.
Now, the last thing about the strings is strings are immutable, right? What do I mean by strings as immutable are that you cannot change the value inside a string once it has been defined now, right? Basically, you cannot replace the values inside a string. Suppose this is a variable that you create, suppose var2. You are saying var2 equals to Python, right? You write something like this and you run it. Now variable 2 has been created, which is Python. Okay. Now you remember, you realize that in Python, you would like to replace the y with z, right? Like, in R, we would able to do it. So if I say var2, and you are saying that the value which is at the index number 1, you want to replace it with z, if you will run it, you will get an error, right? That the string object does not support item assignment. That means once a variable has been declared, you cannot replace the values inside it. Okay. So this is where, I think we'll take pause for today, right? This is like strengths. So tomorrow we will be starting off with the lists and dictionaries. So these are like basics, how we manage and store the data, right? So this is how we will start it. And yep. So anything you would like to ask? So this file, you can save it if you click on save. So the file gets saved automatically in that path, from where this Python has been, this notebook has been opened. So you can check that out by writing PWD, print working directory.
Can you show once how to change that path?
That I'll show you. For that, we'll have to use command prompt. So I'll guide you that tomorrow.
Okay, yeah, fine. Yeah.
That we have to do it before, like before we open it up, then we do it.
Can we change the file name, Amit?
That you can do it. You just double click over here. So you can rename it.
Okay.
So today is like 8 August. So sorry, not 8, 11th August. So you can rename it over.
The markdown you showed us right now, Amit, what is the use case of that? For multiple comments or for giving any description or for
So
what?
Markdown is like, the HTML language that you have. So if you just want to write some commentary and all, so you can use it for that particular purpose.
Okay.
Like for example, over here, so little bit of these commands are used for that HTML languages, that B is for bold and strong for bold. So
Okay.
those commands has to be used. So that's what that HTML box is. So if you write that HTML language over there, so
Okay.
it will show the output like that.
Okay.
Right. So this is where I think we'll take a pause and let's connect tomorrow. So tomorrow we'll be meeting at the same time, the usual time. Then we'll take the thing.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for the session.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye all.
Okay.